Another awesome video from Arcade Dude 44.
Hello YouTube, Arcade Dude here with a quick update. Unfortunately not much has happened on the arcade painting. You can see I got a little more done, but I actually had a side trip. I couldn't resist a Craigslist offer for one of my favorite games, so let's check it out. This is going to be a quick how-to as well. So, favorite Sega Genesis game, which was actually an arcade port of a very cool arcade game, Super Monaco GP. Later on there will be a video of this when I have it all up and running in the arcade. But unfortunately this one had messed up steering. If you look here, I'm in the service menu now. The right player, or player 2 section of the game, actually it was pretty much, this one was kind of playable. The steering was really messed up. It would actually, at home with the steering wheel centered, it would actually still pull to the left. Then you'd steer left and you'd slam into a wall immediately. You'd steer right, full right, it would just barely go like this far. So it was pretty much not playable. This one's all jacked up. So I'll go into this real quick. Go into the menu. Come down here. I got this one all apart. That's what I'm going to show you in a second. So this is a left player. And I'm basically just going to select the input test. There we go. And you can see the centering. So this one's still together. So look here, the steering wheel's centered, but look where we're looking at the handle. This one right here. See, it's already full left, and I'm not even touching it. And this pot's so out of range. Check this out. I'm steering to the left, and it jumps all the way to the far right, and then starts going left. And then I go right, and it just moves just a hair. So what's happening when this happens, see I'm going left, and see the little green dot jump. See how it jumps? And then now it's floating back. I'm not touching the wheel, and it's floating back to where it was. Folks, what happens on a potentiometer or a variable resistance, just a very basic electronics lesson here, is a potentiometer is just a variable resistor. It has a resistance that's fixed, usually centered around 5,000 ohms, 10,000 ohms, whatever. And basically, as you vary the plates inside of it, it's a sealed device normally, and as you vary it, which in this game it's actually a steering wheel, but you vary that resistance, and that resistance, the different voltage drop or whatever, is married in, it's actually measured in the game board. You can see coming off the pot we have these wires over here, and they come around, and it's going in, then it's going into the processor right here. And basically the software or whatever electrical circuits will decode that, and then it'll make the game react, of course, like steering. So basically, what these potentiometers, when you vary them past their normal range, it'll jump and it'll act erratic, which is what we're seeing here. It's going past its left limit, and again, looking at this line, or this little dot here, it should be going left and right, like, no, I'm off that one now, but going left and right. As I'm turning the steering wheel left, it's going, wait a minute, now I'm over here. It's going past its range all the way back to 0, I guess you'd say. So FF, I'm assuming on the range of this pot, what they're talking about is the full, like the limit, pretty much the fixed limit, or I'm sorry, the limit like 5K ohms, whatever. And then 0 is at the beginning of its range. So basically it should be over here, and it turns, and that's how you're getting your range. It's raising, lowering. In this case, I guess it's raising this way, lowering this way. It's resistance. So I'm starting at the top. I'm going like this. It's making it actually do this. It's coming all the way to the beginning, and now it's full right. So basically how this exhibited when I tested it yesterday before I bought it is I steer left, it goes right. I steer right, it goes left. And that's kind of what was happening. The range is so screwed up. So I thought, oh man, what did I get myself into? Is this going to be a major deal that I'm going to have to pay someone or whatever? Then I thought, basic electronics. I looked up on the internet and found that this uses potentiometers, so it's a very basic electrical device. So then I removed some screws on this one. I didn't do this side yet. But there's some security bits, and folks, you can go to, I use Craftsman tools because they're decent. You break them, they don't ask any questions, and give you new ones. These I got at Sears, of course, that's Craftsman. It's a little magnetic set. I got the better one that came with a nice little handle because it's really convenient. And then I had this set I forgot about, but whatever. And there's little security bits. A lot of these games, especially newer ones, this one's from 1989, use these little security bits. This is what they look like. And I don't know if this phone can get a good image. It's basically a star washer or a star design, and it has a little protrusion in the middle of it. So you need a special bit to actually get into that. And here's a big one. They look like this. They have a hole in the middle and then the star deal around the outside, and that's what you use to remove these special screws. I think the set was like 20 bucks. It's well worth it if you're going to get any arcade games, because a lot of them have these security bits, so kids, little crafty kids, couldn't go into the arcade with screwdrivers and start taking the games apart. I'm assuming is what it was for. So anyways, and there's a few screws. There's bigger ones on top and smaller ones. So there's two different sizes on top. On the bottom, it's all this size. I think it's like 5 of them. Mine, a couple of them are broke. It's not a high priority for me to fix those right now, because it's definitely secure when it's all together. Also, a little note here. You notice everything's in Japanese, so I never remembered seeing a side-by-side 2-player sit-down version of this game. Turns out it was Japanese in Japan use only, so that's kind of cool, I guess. But it's all in English except the title screen where it said Sega Grand Prix or whatever, with a girl in the yellow bathing suit. That's in Japanese. Everything else, including obviously the service menus, are in English, so it's all good. Anyways, so this one wasn't quite as far out of whack, admittedly, but it basically would go, when I had it at home, or centered position on the steering wheel, it would be sitting over here, and it would go full left really quick, and then if you go right, it would just kind of go about this far. So that's what it looked like. So now, let me hit a button here again. Now it's perfectly centered. See right here, this is where it should be, in this little plus mark. And the range, from what I can tell in this game, more or less that's what these plus marks are. It should go over here maybe a little past, and over here maybe a little past, when you move the steering wheel to its extremes. So after adjusting, we reach underneath, and you can see, well, actually it goes a little further. Okay, that's the full range to the right. Now let's turn the steering wheel left, and there we go. So it's pretty much centered right in the middle, because I centered it at that plus, just barely off center. I guess the perfect center would be right here, but the teeth on the gears wouldn't allow that, so this is the best compromise I could get. So when I got this yesterday, it's like, man, when it was sitting about here, like right about there yesterday. So I was like, man, how am I going to fix this? Then I thought, why don't I take it apart and look? So I got into it, removed all these screws at the top and the bottom. It's like 10 screws total, and this thing hinges down, and then a couple screws on this metal cage, and this is what we have here. So it's actually extremely simple electronics at this part. So we have our little gear, which is what's attached to the steering wheel shaft right down there, and you have a cam and a spring. This is just for counterbalance on the steering wheel, so it doesn't just sit flat. It actually kind of springs back like that, so it gives it more of a racy feel when you're playing it. And this is the potentiometer gear. Now these things typically have a little bit of grease. I have to remember this and note it. Every couple of years I'll probably come in and check this and maybe give it a tiny bit more, but pretty much it shouldn't need much service, which is I'm sure why this cover's here. It's not airtight, but it keeps up a lot of the dust that could come in the back or whatever, because you don't want dust mixing in with this. It'll gum it up and whatever. Anyways, all this is, folks, is a simple little potentiometer on here. If I can get under there, you can kind of see it. The little round thing right there, that's a potentiometer. And basically, I love Sega. They made this extremely easy for me. If I needed fine adjustments, I'm going to try it like this. If I need it perfectly centered, I'm sure that's with these two screws. I could loosen these and turn this gear a little bit. But folks, all I had to do was, you notice this has a slotted hole here that allows some movement. I loosened this Phillips screw, pulled this back, allowed me to spin this to where it needed to go. It only turned maybe like about that far. These are very precise pots. They're actually good potentiometers in this. I looked at them, I think they're like 1%, which is really good. 1% of variance over 5K or whatever is really good. So anyways, I used high quality pots in this thing, which is nice. So basically, set it where you want it, and then carefully just push it back into place. And folks, when you're adjusting stuff like this, don't ram the gears together. It should have a little bit of what's called backlash, and this would be backlash. I'm not touching the one that moves, when you steer. But basically, look how there's just a little bit of see that play right there between the teeth? So basically, your backlash, you want to make sure you have a little bit of gear backlash in there. So they're not real tight together, but you don't want it enough where the teeth can slip out, kind of, where they can jump. You don't want teeth to jump to the next, of course. That'll give you screwed up readings every time. So get them tight, but don't smash them together. And this isn't just this game. A lot of games use gears or things like that. And you want to make sure you don't jam them together really tight. You want a little bit of backlash normally. Look at an owner's manual. If you don't have one, look on Google. You can usually find one or get one on eBay for 10 bucks or whatever. You should have some sort of manual for these. That's how I knew to get into here. But basically, and I can't think of any case where they'd want them real tight, but they might on some. So before you go adjusting stuff, you want to look in the manual, make sure, or get on like coinopspace.com or Clove, Killers the video games. Get on a forum and just post, hey, does anyone know how tight these should be? If you're not sure. But general rule of any gears, really, in any device, is you don't want them real tight. You want it just a little bit of backlash, if you can see it. See, it moves just a little. That's what you want, so they don't jam together and you don't damage them. Especially in this case, this is actually a nylon or Delrin. It's some kind of plastic, this gear. And this one is brass or whatever. So it's a soft metal, but still, if you jam them, you'll end up tearing teeth off here over time. Because remember, this thing's going to be used a lot, especially in its previous life. It already was. And these gears seem to be in good shape. So whoever it is actually took pretty good care of these gears. Whatever reason, the pots were all screwed up. I don't know what happened. Someone that didn't know what they were doing might have got in here playing with it. Who knows? Who cares? As long as I can fix it, I don't care. So anyways, folks, that's a quick update. And basic electronics, how to adjust a potentiometer. So if someone's really nice, they give you an adjustment range like this, where I loosen a screw and I just move this thing back and forth. That makes it super easy. Move it back, turn it, look at the screen, look where the range is, carefully push it back, making sure the gear doesn't move really while you do it, and then tighten it up and you should be golden. So anyways, folks, that's how it goes, and I'll have more videos of this when it's actually set up, where it's actually playing. But for now, I'm just interested in fixing it, so I can move on to more painting and stuff like that. So anyways, that's the update for now, folks. Thanks for checking it out. Please feel free to subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And please feel free to comment. I always look at all comments, and I'm still kind of new to this, so let me know what's good, what's bad. Hopefully there's some good stuff in here. And see you next time.
End of line.